All right, so good to see everybody today. I just hit that button twice. I'm gonna tell you what,
shirt on.
you just
You got your shirt on.
got in here on the nick of time.
I did.
We're so glad to see everybody today. I overcome on Thursday. Yes, it's just a beautiful day. Last
things
night,
are a little
what
out
kind
of
of
whack.
storm came through Pensacola?
Yeah,
I mean,
it was pretty.
It was the most crazy thing. I thought Dorothy and I thought I was going to see a witch and
Wizard of Oz was happening.
That was in the previous.
No,
trip.
it took me a little bit to get myself. So we've had plumbing issues last week, and then again this week. And so when stuff starts, like when you do
almost had to get a hotel room.
Yeah. It's like,
almost had to get a hotel room.
We're going to be in the RV or we're getting a hotel room. I'm tired of it because like I'd start a load of wash and I'd walk back and I could hear the toilet and the shower bubbling with water coming in.
Yeah.
And everybody tried to tell me, well, it's not sewage. It's just water. Yeah. Well, when the plumber came back yesterday, he said, yes, it is sewage. So yeah, so we have a hole in the front yard. They're going to repair the pipe, but it's been an off again, on again. Take everything out of the bathroom because it was overflowing. Put everything back in the bathroom. Take everything out of the bathroom. So, anyways, yeah, it's just part of living life. It's just those things happen. You can't plan for it, and it's an inconvenience. I lost my stuff a little bit yesterday, and I thought, wow, what a brat! Like I have running water. I have all these amenities, but it's interesting how that's what we're used to. And so you really have to do a reality check and say, okay, you know what? It is not the end of the world. It's going to get fixed. It's okay.
It's not the end of the world.
No.
We told you, we tried to say that to ourselves many times yesterday.
Well, you know what? And I think that's where we're heading today. Is we have to tell ourselves. I'm trying to.
What happens when life doesn't go like you planned?
Yeah, that's what you said. You said we're going to talk this morning about when life doesn't go like you planned, and so if that can be an hourly or a daily.
So it's interesting.
Or a lifelong journey.
So Proverbs. So yeah, let's jump into this. So Proverbs 19:21 says this: "Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it's the Lord's purpose that prevails." So that flies all over me because obviously I have made many plans in my life, and a lot of them haven't worked out. I mean, and even God's plan, I look at like some of the greatest people on earth, you know, called by God to do great things, and they were in it and they were doing. All of a sudden, something happens in their body, something happens in their mind. Generally, some other person who's jealous, angry, or hateful comes in and destroys it. I mean, you know, and so even if you're in the flow, but just like little normal stuff, we'll go from there first, like the plumbing. Yeah. The day that we decided we have somebody preach once a month for us because that's what we do. That's who we are. And
well, we don't take sabbaticals and
right. So but we also have a church in Pensacola, and we also have a church in Pensacola, and we try to establish ministry down here. But it is nice to not go back up. It is sort of a break. Well, let me see.
We got
to the beach once in 2 weeks. Yeah. And so we were going to go and just spend a little, and we can't spend, you spend a couple hours at my age. You spend a couple hours. Like I used to be able to spend all day on the beach. No. It's 120. Well, it's 115 index here.
But see, can't do it. Here's the perception though. When an elf, or one of the movies is, if Christmas was every day of the year, it wouldn't be Christmas. It wouldn't be special. So like, you talk to people who get to the beach once a year and they're like, oh, it must be great. You live at the beach, Well, we live close to the beach, not on the beach, but close to the beach. But it's interesting how many people that live in this area
Yeah, they never get
that
to it.
never go to the beach.
It's interesting.
And so what happens is, just like when I grew up outside of Washington, D.C., and people would travel, spend a lot of money. A lot of students have to pay to take their 8th grade field trip there. And they're like, you haven't been here and you haven't been there. I'm like, well, I lived there. And so it just wasn't. So I've found it that now that we do live in this area, we don't go as often as you think we would go. So, like, if you go to the beach for a week out of the whole year, you spend every minute on that.
But it's also like Atlanta. It's like,
you take advantage of it. When you're here, you're like, I'll go tomorrow. I'll just go tomorrow. I got busy and didn't have time. It's too hot. The bacteria levels in the water are high. The traffic is, but you start talking yourself out of it. Next thing you know, a week's gone by and you're like, we didn't go.
But it's like Atlanta. People come visit. Have you ever been to the Coca-Cola music? I go, you know what? I've never been.
Please tell me that you grew up in Atlanta and that you have gone to the Coca-Cola Museum.
Never.
Are you kidding
me? Not once.
Okay.
And so then
my sister's coming into town. We're going to go to the Coca-Cola Museum.
But like, like the aquarium. We have one of the most beautiful aquariums.
You haven't been to the aquarium?
Mm-mm.
Jim McRae.
Yeah, never. So you get
that wasn't there when you were growing up, was it?
No,
it was new.
But we work. I get up at 5. I start working. It's 11 o'clock, and by the time it's 11 o'clock, my plans all of a sudden have completely changed, and it does fly all over you at times. Like, we plan to do some things, like let's go out to. No, we're not gonna. I'm gonna continue to work or something like. I mean, but it does. The only time you really get, for us, the only time you go on the beach is like at 8, 9. And then if it's 10, it's already 100 degrees and it's just not fun. And so, but what do? Well, we got to work out. How many times have we worked out this week?
We had a friend who said, I hope you do something fun this weekend. Yeah. I'm like, what did we do?
Nothing.
We worked all day Sunday. Yeah, you were in the office.
Got up at 5 a.m. thinking that we were going to do something. I was like, let's go to worship. Let's go. And all of a sudden, I'm in the computer doing the app and making content. I'm like going, okay, we're
7 hours ago.
But anyway, so plans change. Okay, this is wow, that took a long time to get here.
Yeah.
Plans change, and you can tell we're frustrated. That's frustrating for us because it'll be, as a church, as a pastor, in 30 years, I remember, like, even on vacation, the phone would ring, I'd have a heart attack.
I remember I had to call you once because
the phone would ring. I go instantly. The phone ring. I go, we're coming back.
Vacation's over.
Vacation's over. We're coming back. And I mean, like, so you're. What's the 38 Special song? Hold on loosely, but don't let go. Yeah, that's
what? But I've learned in life. So here's the thing: we make plans. I mean, that's we have a brain, right? And we have desires in our heart. We have things we want to do. But you grow up, you go to school, then a lot of times you're fast tracked, and it's like you're going to college. But I think kids are starting to understand that maybe there's other options for me than college is just so expensive. And so you've got to wrestle through that. And then, you got to land a job because you're like, I gotta make money. So you have all these things that you have to do, right? To live you got to have money. We talked about that, Jesus didn't say, as your shirt says, I did not say that money is the root of all evil. That's not what Jesus said. Mm-hmm. What is said is the love of money is the root of all evil. And so I think we can do that with anything. The love of a plan for our life. If we get so caught up in what our plan is that we don't see where maybe God is redirecting us, or maybe where a hardship or a struggle or difficulty has sidetracked us from where we thought we were heading. But when we lean into it and we allow ourselves to see where God's taking us, that it really is the better plan. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I'll never forget, like, my daughter, she, wanted to go to UGA so bad because that's what everybody wanted to do, was go to UGA.
Faith over fear.
And, I knew when we toured the campus, it was not for her. I knew it in my heart, a mother's heart. I was like, this is going to be overwhelming. It's too big for her, And so she ended up at she got accepted into like every school she applied for, she got accepted to. But it ended up finishing up her college career at a small Methodist university. And she loved it. And so it's interesting. Her plan was one thing. but she
Mhm.
allowed God to guide her in another direction, and it was the perfect fit for her.
Yeah, and I think that, there's a lot of faith that comes into that. I think that we have ideas about what our life should look like. I think
Mm.
we have, the problem is that, like, so when I got, it was very interesting when I had a business. I came out of college. I had already started a business, and then I came out of college and I continued that business, and and it did pretty well, actually. I mean, I was like, but I was not happy. Like, I just did not want to do that anymore. And I knew that I was it, and of all things, I said, okay, I'm going to do what I've always wanted to do. I'm going to explore it. I'm going to, like, I started volunteering, okay, at a hospital. Something happened. I went to visit my grandfather in the hospital. He was dying. Across the street's Eggleston Hospital, where literally I spent the first 15 years of my life. I was like, okay, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to volunteer. Didn't know but something was pulling me to go. Well,
Mm.
then that wasn't enough. All right, I'm going to explore maybe being a paramedic or an EMT. Well, then I found out that after all that, I didn't like the sight
No.
of blood. And by the way, let me tell you how funny that is, because let me say this, that you don't work with real blood becoming a paramedic or a EMT. You work with fake blood, and it's all wonderful. You see pictures. When you see blood for the first time, you know very quickly trauma, very quick. I was not cut up for that. Not going to do
See,
it.
I should have been your career
Not going to
coach
do it.
because I absolutely would have
Well,
put a
then I
hard
was thinking,
stop
okay,
on
well,
that.
so I started exploring all these areas where I could serve other people. And finally, it was the church. So again, plans. It's interesting, the scripture. Let me read this out of Proverbs. So this describes my life completely. In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps.
Mm.
So I had planned a course, but but it wasn't the actual steps I needed to be taking. God had steps for me, and they weren't in that direction. They were in the same ballpark, but I wasn't sitting in the bleachers. I was supposed to move to not section 22, but section 8. One tier down, one tier over. Whatever it is, it just was, those were not the right steps. So
Right.
you have to be very, and so that for me was a big lesson that, like, I can, all those doors got shut. Like, and I'm like going, okay. So all my friends are thinking I'm crazy. Like, he's given up his business to go be a paramedic. He's given up his business to go volunteer, to start a foundation, do all these other things. And I'm like going, oh, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. Well, you're crazy. But finally I land and they go, you're really crazy.
Yeah.
And I didn't
Then you
really,
went to
the
seminary.
irony is I didn't know how right they were. That's the irony of the wisdom. And so God does put people around you to help you discern. But no, it was I had gotten to the right place. The right vocation and calling was just I went through the wrong door. And so I was definitely supposed to do something with the church. It was just not with that one.
But you went through
And
that door. Why? And you've told me why you went through
the
that
reason
door.
I went through that door is because it was the easiest door.
No.
That it was the easiest point between A to Z. And I've admitted that.
It was a
And
shortcut.
and you know
It
what?
was
It
a
was a
short-
shortcut because I knew people, I knew things, I knew people in position, and it ended up being the worst decision of my life.
Well, you can't say that though.
But I
In
mean,
spite of
and again,
that,
I met great people.
and
We
God
did
did
amazing
right.
things. We blew up churches in such great ways. We grew churches, and it was wonderful. But there's a thing when you're doing your job. And just like in my business, I was doing well, but was I happy?
Mm.
Was I being fulfilled? There are
Were
a lot
you
of
surviving or thriving?
yeah, where you're surviving, and
That's
they're
the
playing. And
question.
like, you look at people like Elvis and and all these rock stars and movie stars, and a lot of them just would say, some of them would say, I knew I had the talent to do this, but this is not the way. I was just reading about one of the stars in The Office, with the sitcom The Office. You either love it or hate it, but it was a massive, Steve Carell and all these stars came together to create this really quirky, sitcom about.
Yeah, your favorite superhero was
Oh, it
in
was
there.
just The Office is
What's his
genius.
name? The guy that's
The Office is genius. Anyway, so the whole point
Guardians
is
of the
is the
Galaxy.
the main female character left Hollywood completely. After that, she tried a couple of, she said, "I'm done." She says, "I got 2 kids and I have to work I go, "It's just not, I'm not fulfilled." And so she left. A lot of people don't have the guts to leave when the plans, even when they know the plan isn't working. They don't have the guts to listen to God and say, "Okay, you know what? You were right. This was a season and I need to close this door and move on." And I think that I know I can count 10 people I know right now that are sitting in pulpits that can't leave because they get a paycheck, they have a family, and those are all good reasons, but they're dying a silent death. They really are. They're not happy. They're not fulfilled. They're looking at other people doing things that they wish they could do in ministry and dream of, and yet they're still bound by people not nearly as smart as them running their lives. And
So
it's
what
just,
is it though that makes us hold on? I think it's fear. In
oh, it's
fact,
got
you
to be
have got that
fear.
mug right there that
Yeah,
someone gave to
fear,
me.
faith over fear.
Yeah, I think it's fear of the unknown
Yeah.
that makes us hold on to what we have. And I've shared this story before. I'll never forget. I was working at a large church, and we would do a twice a year do a consignment sale, and all that money then went to missions and ministry of the church. And it was it was in a pretty prominent area north of Atlanta. And so, people would come from all over because a lot of the stuff was like really beautiful things being consigned. And this woman pulled up, and I knew her through Vacation Bible School. Her daughter had been in VBS. She served. And our job that day, staff that day, was to go out and help everybody bring in their stuff for the consignment sale. So I went out and I said, "How can I help you?" And her daughter is in the back seat, just a beautiful girl, long, beautiful dark curls and big blue piercing eyes, just a beautiful little girl, had on a little white smock dress, just like a baby doll. And she's holding this doll in her hand, and these massive crocodile tears are running down her face. And she's not crying, but the tears are just flooding. And I said, "How can I help you?" She goes, "If you can talk to her while I unload my car, I just need a break from it. She will not let go of that doll." And I have told her that Santa's going to bring her a new doll, but she doesn't believe me. And so it was an interesting thing because I remember looking at her, and she's just sitting there, and just the tears are just rolling down her face. And the doll was battered, and it looked kind of ratty. And I think mom was just saying, "Let's clean out because more's coming." But I thought, that's us. We hold on to what we have, even if it's ragged and tattered and dirty and broken, and it needs to go. And maybe it's a weight we've been carrying that we need to let go of, but we hold on to it. It's like comforting to us. We're fearful of letting go of something because we don't know what the
Well,
unknown looks like.
even
So why do we
relation
do
well,
that?
but even relationships that are abusive,
Yeah, we do
we
that
like
too.
it. You have to like really convince. Sometimes you're like, going, okay, it's so easy. I've said to people, you know, if it's really, really bad between 2 people, I'll just say, you know what, you guys need to really pray about where you need to be. I don't say you need to leave him and you need to leave her, because y'all are not, not going to happen. But I always say you guys need to, really pray about if you're in love with each other still. And, do you really want to live out the rest of your life? And yet, if one person is being abused, it's always they're hoping one day that I had a couple, and I mean, this guy cheated this guy, abused this guy, just absolutely ran this person upside down, inside out. The only thing he didn't do was lock her in a closet. And I said, finally. And I never said anything. They never came into my office. I just knew it was happening. We all knew it was happening. And and finally the woman calls me and says, "This is happening. I want you to pray for me." I go, "Well, dear, don't you think maybe it's time to move on? If this is happening. No, wouldn't move on. Still with the guy. I'm not sure he's still doing the horrible things that he did before.
Well, I
but
mean,
just absolutely, and I don't know where that comes out of. Like,
when you read the scriptures about divorce, it really puts it's really tight and locked down. But I think that's where you have to understand that
that's not abundance.
Well, I mean, you got to look down. Now, I'm not saying, but when I would have a woman come in my office and tell me what was going on, I would ask her one question. Do you fear for your life? If the answer was no, we went a different route. If the answer was yes, I said, you have no choice. Do you fear for the life of your children? So if it was yes, I fear for my life and I fear for the life of my children because my husband's violent, then I said, you have no choice. You cannot stay in an environment like that where could be loss of life or for you or your children. And so I think that talk about a plan going not the way you had expected that. So
yeah, but we watched a
that's a topic
okay,
but that is a topic to dig into.
I know, but it takes courage to leave your current situation, regardless of what it is, relationship, job. I mean, whatever it is, it takes a lot of courage to leave. That's why Abraham is so courageous. Moses is so courageous. I mean, these people are courageous.
The hardest part, and I'm speaking from experience, is that if you stay in a situation where it continues to breed bitterness and anger and hurt, if it continues to do that and you are feeling threatened, it's not going to get any better. But when you do have the courage to make the move, be prepared that everyone around, because you don't talk about the situation, will have an opinion or an idea or
you find out who your friends are very quickly,
or a conversation about what actually took place, and they do not have a clue. And that, I think, is the hardest part about a plan not going the way we had expected and changing course. Think about what you just said. Your friends were like, dude, like you had a great business.
Lost a lot of friends.
Like you let go. What's wrong with you? Mm-hmm. You let go of a business that you are an entrepreneur. I say that right. Yeah. You have that spirit in you. And so that they don't understand what that feels like to have that, to want to be someone that's a starter like that. But, you were judged by that. I look at my situation and where my life, literally, I hit a wall that I never thought. I knew it was coming. I can't say that. There were things throughout my life that I knew something was off. But when the wall came and I had a choice to either stay behind it or crawled over it. What the hardest thing was, I knew God was with me, but the dialogue of the conversation and the judgment and the things that people said about a situation that they still know nothing about. And then the rewriting of the story, people putting new...
Oh, Lord, we know about that.
That's the type of stuff that I think... But
from the pit of hell. That's all from the pit of hell.
Well, honestly. But this is where you have to say...
Absolute evil.
I've got the voice of my Lord, and I've got the voice of gossip, rumor, slander, which actually... God has something to say about that, that's an abomination. But, people do it. They do it all the time. Like, I mean, I'm looking at a situation in the news right now about someone who died very young and unexpected, and everybody's already putting together pieces of what they think happened. And the truth is no one knows yet, right? I mean, they have to do the science behind it to find out. And so I think sometimes we don't have the courage when life doesn't go as expected and we're walking in step with the Lord and the Lord gives us a new path and we trust in that path. And then our closest friends and family sometimes judge it. Are you kidding me? You're going to do what? Where are you going to go? Well, why would you do that? When that dialogue starts seeping into our spirit, it confuses us, right? And we miss sometimes, we do the comfortable because we won't have to hear the stuff from our friends and we won't have to hear the negativity from our family. We won't have to hear people judging us. We just do the easy route when in reality, God had something completely different planned for us.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lesson that we have to learn. If you're going to walk in the Spirit and you're going to walk with the Spirit, it's not going to always be comfortable, and it's not going to line up with the judgment of others. And
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
I think,
So,
one of my favorite shows is 1923, the Dutton Show, 1923. It's going to go down as my all-time favorite because I am Spencer Dutton. I just go watch it. I am Spencer Dutton. That is my spirit animal. All right. Animal spirit. So, but one of the scenes in that, and it's about the life of a guy that meets a girl named Alexandra, who is an English girl. A guy from Montana meets an English girl in Africa or wherever they meet.
Africa, he's a
he's a hunter, and so
he's a soldier.
Regardless, it was love at first sight. But she was engaged to another person
of wealth,
and she's of wealth, and it's a life of like just
opulence.
walk into it, society, just anything you want can be had. But she didn't love the guy.
She was miserable.
And she told her friend, I am now resigned to the fact that I'm going to live my life with somebody I do not love. It's arranged and I have no way out. And all of a sudden she sees Spencer riding off. She's getting into another car to go into a completely different life. And it's at that moment, what does she do? She picks up her bag, runs towards the Spencer in the car. She doesn't know him, but all she's doing really is saying, what I am doing, and the statement I make is, I'm running away from what I know I don't want. And that's you. And she said, as she's leaving, the guy's running after her. Her English fiance is running after. She's like, find somebody who loves you.
Mm-hmm.
And so what it boils down to is this, is that we choose a lot of things because of ease and comfort. In fact, she'll meet her friend. In fact, the whole story from then on is an absolute train wreck. The whole story of their relationship is an absolute, you have to watch it, 2 series of train wreck.
It's
train
a
wreck, but it's
love. Story.
It's love.
Yeah.
So she chooses not comfort. She chooses tremendous hardship because she loves this man, and he loves her. And it's there that this is a metaphor for life, because a lot of times we are choosing things because they're easy. Our plans are easy. That job would be easy. I've known plenty of people that took a job, let's say that their dad owned a company, and they went into the business, but they were miserable. Now, how would you like to work in a job till the day you retired and knew you were miserable?
I actually knew a woman that was a teacher at my daughter's and my son's school. And our kids had gotten to be friends, and she went back to get her master's, and she was a successful sales rep, and she was going back to get her master's, and she said, I was called to be a teacher, and I knew it from the minute I was a little kid. I was called to be a teacher. And my family talked me out of it and said, you're never going to make any money. And so I went into sales and I made a lot of money, and I was still not happy. So she went back, mid 40s, I guess, 50s, to get her master's in teaching. Now she's leading a school in Atlanta. So her gift of leadership, her gift to bring people together with a common vision to be successful was given to her. It was given to her to lead students, right? But because of the conversation of people, you're never going to make any money doing that. Why would you do that? You're throwing your life away. She listened to that, and then she ended up being successful anyway, because that's her natural gifting, but she wasn't happy. And so she finally said, this is what's going to make me happy. And she's excelling at that. And so I think I guess we're getting ready to wrap this up a little bit, but I
have one more point.
Oh, okay. Go
no,
ahead.
I wanted to, when I'm thinking about it, even plans, look, there are a lot of us that there's a large percentage of people that are in places that they've chosen because of just convenience. It's your plans. You have taken your steps. You've made your plans. You've ignored God. Okay, that's fine. There's some people. I think you should. My advice would be this: you're not happy because you know there's somewhere deep down inside you should have taken another road, and you can't. And some of us are too old to do that now. But God still has, and this is my point, is that no matter what road you've taken, God still can make something out of it. Okay. If you're now really stuck, you're going to, I mean, that was your choice and you're miserable, maybe in a relationship. God can't change the other person. I mean, he could change the other person. The other person will listen. 9 times out of 10, that dog's not going to learn any new tricks. You're stuck. But this is the point for the people that really are stuck because they have no other choice. Like if you're in a job, you have to have that job to feed your kids. You have to have that job. You know what? Look, God, that's the person I really want to speak to. You, please, know this. You're in a season right now. It's not going to last forever, but you are in a season, and God can still do incredible things with you in that season.
That's right.
All right. And I've been in jobs, I mean, where I wasn't making a lot of, I've been in things I had to do. Just like 4 years ago, I was doing something I had to do. I didn't want to do it, but I had to do it, And so there are things that I promise you, if you'll just be patient, look, there's a big difference in choosing the easier path and not paying attention to God's steps versus knowing you're in a place where you have to be. It's a season and you're praying to God and saying, okay, God, make my next step, make my next step, make my next step. And he'll show you ways that you can thrive and understand the mountaintop even in your valley. All right. He'll give you those places where you can really make a difference, where you can really thrive and use your gifts. You might still have to do something you don't want to do, but you can still use your gifting in that place, I think. And so I don't want you to be frustrated. I don't want it to sound like it's all like, life is a lot of gray. There's a lot of gray in there, a lot of buts and a lot of real issues that people have to deal with, and they have to do things they don't want to do. I don't want to discount that at all because that's, I stayed in a job that I like every day I woke up going, okay, gosh, I mean, I'm not really happy. I love people, but I love the people I'm with, but I feel like I'm chained to a wall most of the time, and it's not a fun place to be. So I think, yeah, when it's all said and done, man, let God plan your steps. Dream big, but let your steps be made by God.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll lead you to the right places. And 9 times out of 10, your big dreams, when they align, if they're even in the same ballpark, God's like, yes, look, we can do something with that. And he'll lead you to the right place, I promise.
I think the hard part is he gives us pieces. Like with Abraham, he just said, go.
Yeah, sometimes he doesn't show you the whole thing.
And so I think that's where we get frustrated sometimes. I think that's where sometimes we do hold on to what we know because we feel like we have a little bit more control over it. But the truth of the matter is we don't really have control over anything. Life happens, things happen. And so what we do have control over is where's our spirit going to land when the hard times come? Are we going to be angry and bitter and resentful? Or are we going to say, okay, I'm going to take this as an opportunity to catch my breath, and I'm going to take this as an opportunity to find out where God really wants to lead me? And are we willing to trust in the process? Are we willing to have the courage to make a decision that if it's in line and in step with God, but it's not a favorite opinion of people around us, that we're still willing to walk through that door? I think that's where I think those are the struggle is real. I think that's where we struggle.
And maybe as we ended, this was not supposed to answer a question as much as maybe just cause a lot of pain in your life right now. Meaning, meaning this. Maybe this conversation was to make you uncomfortable, like maybe to really.
Yeah, that's better. Much
maybe not
That's
pain. I think the
yeah,
uncomfortable, maybe I said it backwards. The
yeah.
uncomfortableness will lead to some pain and to some hard decisions.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
but
Much better.
and
Much
so,
better.
but I think that maybe this conversation, a lot of our conversations are like, okay, well, let's point to the solution, and here it is, and maybe this one is more wide open. This is an uncomfortable topic. Like, like take dynamite to your well laid out plans. That's what we've done here. And so, if you want it to, if you want to throw all the chips up in the air and see where they'll land, then this talk was for you. If you don't, then go back to your life, and it might be great, by the way. There's lives out there that are rolling around just perfectly the way God intended. Wonderful for you. You're in the, that's
I
not
think if
mine.
you can look, no,
I
but
wish
you
that
know
was
what?
mine.
But I think when we have moments where we struggle with things, when I say to you or you say to me, because it's interesting how one supports the other, yeah, but if that didn't happen, then this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, we wouldn't have
Or,
ever found each other,
I
for
mean,
sure.
so if we keep going through that, we're like, okay, but if that didn't happen, then this wouldn't be the fruit. And if that did, so you can go. So I think that's where journaling is important. And I know it's like, well, get a journal. But I mean, journaling really is important because you can write down where you're struggling, where the friction point is in your life, like, okay, I got a great paying job, and it's got great insurance I'm miserable. Like I'm not happy and I mean, we're not, life isn't about being happy, but if your frustration with where you're at then seeps into the rest of your life, your spouse, your kids, your friends, you've been around people that are just like a wet rag. Like they're just dragging the heaviness of their life around and they're just flinging it on everybody. We all know because we've been around those people. Maybe they need a gentle ringing out. Maybe they just need a conversation. Maybe this was what this was today, was just a conversation to say, look, do you feel stuck? Are you stuck? Because if you keep doing, what is it? Doing the same thing over, insanity is doing the same thing over and over
Expecting
again.
a different result.
Yeah, if you're feeling stuck and you're feeling frustrated and if life just seems heavy and there's a reason why, maybe it's time to really start making the steps to moving forward. It's time to just say, if I have to put the chains on the wheels or if I've got to get friends to help pull me out of the pit, I'm ready. And I'm going to trust that God's going to lead me the rest of the way.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what this was about today.
Yeah. So think about it. Think about your heart. Think about your steps. Who's in control and who are you allowing to be in control? Maybe that's it. And so we pray that God will be in control and will make those steps. I promise that He knows them better than you. And
that's the part we need to surrender to.
And let that faith overcome that fear and see where He'll lead you. And so, may God bless you in your next step. We'll see you tonight at Pensacola on the dock. And then we'll see you back in Georgia for more worship.
I know. I miss our Atlanta family.
We love you guys. Take care. Next step. Bye.